Facebook group, everyone that
Okay, we've kicked off.
Yeah, I think everybody just has to hit their little disclaimer there that gives us permission to record. Yeah. And I'll just start over again then. Hey, how about that? Hi, everybody. I think we have some other additional people on now as well. My name is Gayanne. On behalf of the Purlfect Pairings team with Nicole, who's also on your screen. And I'd like to welcome everybody to our Sanna Sweater Cal cast-on party. Well, thanks for joining us. I'd like to start today by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land where I am, which is the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. And that's where Nicole is as well. So perhaps we'll kick it over to Karina.
Yeah, certainly. Hi, I'm Karina from Louie and Lola, and I'm in Northwest Tassie. So very excited to have everyone joining today. Tassie is La Truita, I think is how you say it, in terms of Aboriginal place names. And yeah, casting on. I hope everyone's knitting as we go along. So let's have a great party. Oh, and my Purlfect Pairing, sorry, I hope you've all bought drinks too. I've bought a rosé, just it's very drinkable. It's a an arrogant frog, very cheapy one, but I like it. So yeah. Go head over to Susanna.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the party. I'm Susanna, and I am the designer behind Sanna & Co. So it's my sweaters that you're all going to be knitting, hopefully enjoying it as well. And I have just cast on EXP, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that maybe later. And my drink is in the name of experimentation. I tried a new tea. It's called the Mood Tea, and it's a flavor called pineapple and cinnamon. So that was a very interesting blend, but it's really nice, actually. I recommend it.
Now I'll just a couple of ground rules for the Zoom. We are recording this session, and it will be available on our YouTube channel. If you don't want to be in the recording, there's a couple of things you could do. Is just turn your camera off, and that's fine. And if you want to send questions anonymously as well, you can do that through the chat. And that's a really effective way for you to ask any questions, anonymous or not. And I'll be monitoring the chat during the while we're talking about the projects. If you have a question, you can also put up your hand. There's a raise hand function in Zoom if you want to ask a question. And please also perhaps put in the chat your name and where you're from, and which sweater that you want to cast on. Now, sometimes we like to do a cal because there are prizes, and we have prize announcements for our cal that we're very excited to share with you. So I'm going to hand off to Nicole for the prize announcements. Oh, sorry, just one more thing. If you keep yourself on mute, that will really help the recording and any background noise as well, unless you're speaking, obviously. Anyway, I'll hand over to Nicole now.
Hi, lovely ones. How are you today? So thanks very much for joining us. I guess if you're here, you probably already know a lot of the background to the cal, but I'm just going to go over some very, I guess, high-level overview stuff. So you can participate by doing any one of the Sanna & Co. sweaters. You can use any yarn you like, but if you're still tempted by yarn, Louie and Lola has some beautiful kits for the EXP, and Karina has just released some gorgeous new colours in a yarn that's suitable to do the Jubal as well. If you've already cast on, you're very welcome to join with a whip, but I think a lot of us today are casting on, well, maybe yesterday or today. to participate in the CAL, it's largely run through Instagram. So I do apologise for the chewing noise in the background. I have a little production assistant, Ted, who's helping out. But yeah, it's largely run through Instagram. So just make sure that you hashtag Sanna Sweater Cal anytime you're posting anything, and please tag us as well, because that helps us find your content and share it. So we would love to do that. And obviously there's the Facebook group as well. If you've got a few more questions or need a bit more support, that's a really good place to go. So prizes. So most of our prizes are just going to be random draw for anyone that has finished the CAL by the official finishing date, which is, oh, correct me, friends, is it the 30th of November? 30th of November. So that gives us plenty of time to do it. I'll probably be using the whole time myself. Did I hear someone else wanting to speak just then? No, all good. All right. So prizes, all randomly drawn except for one, and I'll get to that in a moment. So one of the prizes is the $150 gift card from Louie and Lola Yarn. So thank you very much, Karina, for that one. The next prize, and I might just get Gayanne to hold it up and maybe just say a few words so that she is focused on the screen for the recording.
Yeah, here it is. It is from Stitchcraft and Wizardry, the beautiful Anna, who makes the most delightful speckled colors. This gorgeous skein of lavender yarn. I don't know the colorway of it. It just came on this really fun skein minder. So you just, there you go, kind of put the skein on it like that, the cake or your ball, and it will help you with your even tension. Because if you've been following us on Instagram, you'll know I've had some tension issues, and I'm trying to learn how to knit a bit tighter, or adjust my style to knit a bit tighter. And one of the things, one of the tips that I've learned from all of my Google searching was to hold, or to basically contain the yarn to try and get a more even tension as it comes off the ball itself. So this would be very handy for that if you are kind of plagued with the same issues that I have.
Awesome. Thanks, Gayanne. So in addition to that one, as part of the prize, the lovely Susanna has donated 2 codes for patterns that you can choose from her Ravelry site. The next prize is a skein from Pirate Pearl Yarns, and I have that here. It's a unrepeatable colorway, a 4-ply fingering Polworth silk blend, and it's maybe not showing up particularly well in the camera, but it's a gorgeous kind of burnished orangey sort of oh, I don't know what you'd call that, bruised maroon sort of character. So that skein from Pirate Pearl Yarns will be also joined by 2 pattern codes from Susanna from Sanna & Co. So thank you again. And there'd be enough yarn there if you wanted to do some of Susanna's single skein patterns, like maybe the Newt pattern Kana socks or the Inari beanie. So there's lots of options there. The next prize, and I actually don't have good visibility of who's online. I'm having a few techie difficulties here, so I'm not sure whether she's here. I don't think I can see her name in the list. But the lovely Daniela, who from A Knitter's Suitcase, you might have seen her before if you watched our episode from Bendigo. She joined us on the couch that day, but she makes the most lovely project bags, and so she is going to donate one of her project bags as a prize. And then the last one is from Karen at A Knitting Man Recommends. She wanted to judge the winner of her prize. So she's got the Mr. Fluffy Award for the best use of fluff in any of the sweaters. So when the CAL's over, she will make a decision, and that person will win 2 skeins of her Mr. Fluffy, which I think is like a mohair in colour of your choice. So lots of beautiful prizes there, and thanks very much for everyone who donated. All right. Well, we've got lots of lovely chat happening. Does anyone have any particular questions at the moment that they want to ask while you're here?
Just a question for Susanna. I learnt how to tink back in half fisherman's rib like half an hour ago. If you've got any like tips or tricks, because I ended up switching it around, so I purled where I should have done the knit one below, and I got off count. So I found a video, and I've worked it out without having to pull the needles out. But if you've got a different one that you'd recommend, to put that in the group.
All right, I'll have a think about it. I actually just 2 minutes ago was doing that myself. I did a whole row of that, and I was just undoing it stitch by stitch. That's usually what I do end up doing, is if it's not too far back, I'll just go back one stitch at a time. And
so the video I found was for how to tink back in full fisherman's rib, not half, but I could get the gist of what you had to do. So I didn't want to post that video in the group chat in case there was a better one that you knew of.
I think Karina just found one this morning that we could maybe link even to the chat or on Instagram. Was that the video that you found, Karina?
Yes, I'll post it now. It was about 3/4 of the way into the video. It was about the knit one belows. If you've worked back and you've then got the 2 strands from the 2 rows below on your needle, how to then manage it with that. And so could be the same video, but I'll post it in the chat.
Yeah.
Thank you, Karina. I am planning to do a whole series of videos for EXP about the different aspects of the technique, but it's just a matter of finding the time to do it. So hopefully soon.
It might be a good time just to mention if anyone's still just getting used to, or like me, I'm a notorious non-swatcher. So I hadn't practiced at all, but we are finding from a little bit of the chat in the Facebook group that a few people are finding it a little bit easier to get the stitch definition if they're doing the setup row as a full row of stitches instead of the knit one purl one. I don't know if that's helpful to anyone. That's actually helped me in mine. I'll just give a quick look at my cast on, because I've actually it's the first time I've ever done a folded collar actually. There's lots of fun to do. So yeah, I'm just sort of starting on the rows to divide into the raglan, so having lots of fun. That's the Olive Grove kit from Louie and Lola.
It's looking beautiful, Nicole.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I thought the non-swatching might get me this time, but so far so good.
You'll know after you block the sweater, you'll know. After it's all done.
That's right. There might be some more or less vigorous blocking than normal.
But there's a little bit of leeway there where with the blocking you can adjust it a little bit as how aggressively you block it. I mean, obviously there's limits to how much you can block, but if it's looking like you don't need to block as much, then you can block a little bit less, and that should work okay as well. So there's a little bit of room to play with the blocking as well with this one, I think. And from what you said about the purling the main color rows or rounds, it seems that especially for English style knitters that is helpful. If what's happening is that the contrast color stitches are not popping and are not forming the vertical stripes, then trying the purling all stitches instead of doing the ribbing might be helpful. It has worked for a few people so far, and that's a fairly new problem that I heard about, that I hadn't heard about before until a few weeks ago. I think when Karina, you did your first swatches, that's when we sort of discovered this issue. But yeah, that seems to have worked for you as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
There's worlds apart in my fabric compared to my early swatches.
Yeah, that's looking beautiful.
So happy with
Yeah.
Purl all the way. And I just appreciate not having to I'm an English knitter, and just that constant wrapping and flipping of the yarn. I'm pleased to have a row where I don't have to do that.
Don't have to think, really.
Yeah.
Karina, what colors are you using?
Oh, look, I went rogue after lots of indecision. Like every week I was changing my mind what kit I was going to use. At the end of the day, I went with Robin's Nest. That is the last color in the Miss Cassie fade set. So, but I'm not fading. I'm just using that as my contrast. And then I'm using a sage. So it was going to be a brighter blue 2 nights ago. I'm looking at it and I'm going, no, it's not me. It's just not my wheelhouse. So I ended up over dyeing it again on Friday night and to put more of a green and sage through it. So it's a bit deeper now. Yeah, so I'm happy. It's low contrast, but now I'm thinking, oh, yes, I do need a more colourful faded version as well. So there might be 2.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
So is this potentially a brand new colorway for you then, Karina?
The sage.
If you overdyed it, or
look, I have got one that I would say I could go to as a recipe already that looks pretty close.
Cool. Okay.
It's just called sage.
Just in case anyone loves the color and wants some.
Well, I just want to welcome Mervi, who's just joined us from Helsinki, Finland. I think that's really exciting.
That's my mother.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
Hi.
We've got a question from Jenny Z. I'm a non-swatcher as well. I'm doing the EXP and was just sent the Louie and Lola olive. When do you put in the contrasting yarn? Susanna, do you want to talk about that?
Can you, what was that question in the
Yep, it's just about when you start using the contrasting yarn in the EXP sweater.
Okay, so when you start knitting it, so you first knit, maybe I'll show you with this one. So you start with the 1 color version, and you actually knit all the way to the fold line and then a little bit past until you start the contrast color. So there's a few centimeters of just 1 color shaker stitch. I don't know if that's showing up. Is that answering the question?
If it helps, Jenny, you do 32 rows of the shaker stitch in the olive. Here's one that I prepared earlier in the same colorway you have. So there's 32 rows, and then you bring in the first color. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that's good. She just said that in the chat.
We've also got a question from Naomi. Do you want to read that one out?
Yeah, I've got it. I've got that. I have a question about the fade. If I want to make this sweater a little longer, how should I adjust the fade sequence to allow for that?
Well, I think the best way, if you want to keep the fade sections even, is to just calculate the total number of rows that you'd be making and then dividing it again between, if you're doing the 4 color fade, then dividing it between 7 stripes approximately. In a fade, it's not really, a few rows here and there is not going to make a big difference, but that's how you would get the even fade. So a little bit of maths, unfortunately.
Susanna, how would you approach a fade generally for a sweater, not just necessarily the EXP?
Was that for me? Sorry.
Yeah.
How would I approach? This is actually the only fade sweater that I've done. So, but based on my experience, I did find doing the sections of striping every other row has been a really good way to transition between 2 colors. But I have also seen fades where the transition is also faded, where you start with just 1 row of the new color and then you do like a few rows with the old color, and then you sort of just like even do the striping in a sort of a fade sequence, going, you know, more frequent, but I felt that was getting a bit too much. So I'm just happy with keeping it quite simple, and if the colors are not too far apart, you don't really even see the stripes in a like a multicolored yarn. So
I've done quite a bit of fade work with a few shawls, and yeah, you can get a more gentle fade, but if you're using colors that are quite similar anyway, I think Susanna's way of just alternating for a couple of rows works really well. And you can see in the sweater in the background of Susanna's screen there that there is a nice transition of color there without, you know, anything too blocky. I wondered with this one, if you did try and do a more gentle fade, whether it might be difficult with kind of carrying all the yarns behind, particularly if you wanted to make a reversible sweater. I think you've got a higher risk if you're doing a more gradual fade of ending up seeing some bits and pieces like kind of carrying up through. Whereas if you're just alternating rows, then you don't have as much that you're carrying around. So that might just be something to consider if you're wanting to make an EXP that it's a reversible sweater, but I guess how reversible it is depends on how neat your yarn work is on the back.
Exactly, that's a very good point. And there is a few things to keep track of while you are working on the yoke of the EXP. So if you add an extra sort of fading sequence, that will really add a level of difficulty as well. But you're right, Nicole, that I think the floats would start to show and the reversibility would really start to suffer. But if that's you know, if you want a perfect fade and you're not concerned about having it reversible, then, you know, absolutely go for it.
All right, well, I'm going to get the Snails Award because like Karina to put in the chat, it's confession time. I've just cast on today. I've had a bit of a busy weekend. And I've got a few rows in and a couple of drop stitches. How about that already? Woohoo. I'll have to fix that up later. But I've got the old stone kit from Karina. And this color, the main color is Berry Delicious, which is beautiful. And then the variegated old stone here. Whoops, that's my crochet yarn. And I just love it. It's got an incredible, quite subtle effect. Where's my mega swatch? It's over here. I forgot to grab it. The mega swatch that I did, which I think also will show that reversibility that we've just been talking about. So there's the front with all the stripes, and then the back, both really wearable and beautiful. So if you're making the EXP, you've almost got two sweaters in one. It's fantastic. And my drink pairing for today, which we were having a laugh about before everybody came into the room, is that I also have mood tea today, but mine is called Happy Days. It's hibiscus, apple, and ginger. And I chose to share this because it's a social enterprise that raises funds for youth mental health initiatives, which I think is really a worthy cause. And it's actually a delicious tea. So mood. Now, Elena, casting on right now. I know, I really struggled with the making the crochet chain. So, because I'm just not
going well. I'm soldiering on. I'll get there. I have done it before, so I know I can do it.
No, same. And mine never seems to actually want to rip out properly as well. So I'll probably just snip it, to be honest, once I get my needle through that row.
I always have that issue too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had to do that before. A good tip for that is to use a non-superwash yarn for the crochet chain, and also use a slightly thicker yarn. So it doesn't the thinner yarn doesn't because if you have a thinner yarn, it kind of like sinks into the knitting a bit more. But if you have a thicker one and non-superwash, you're a little bit safer. Even the cotton behaves a bit better that way.
I think that's a good tip. I've certainly used cotton quite a bit, and this time I used a really rustic, non-commercially available, very rustic, locally made wool that worked really well for the provisional cast on. So maybe just like, I think cheap and nasty might be a good way to go for your crochet chain.
Yeah.
Just a reminder to everyone just to pop your mute button on if you're not actually talking, because we've just got a few that are kind of popping through from time to time. Does anyone have anything?
I have a confession.
Great, we love confessions.
So last night I was over at Karina's. We were having a pizza night, and that itself was a bit hectic, but we were casting on and going on our merry way. And then Karina looks over at me and goes, let's have two colors going right now. So I started my contrast from the get-go.
Oh,
okay.
And I thought, you know what? I'm not going back. We're going with it. There's no one's gonna know any different, and we're just going with it. So that's my little confession.
just some extra stripes in your life. It'll be fine.
Exactly.
You can roll the collar down and have an extra option.
And my other confession at the same time as that was going on, I'm trying to go, hang on a sec, but we've got to knit into, like when you do the knit one below and everything, but then you're knitting into the provisional cast on. We're going, that's not going to work. And do we join in the round now, or do we join in the round at the end of the first row? And is this going to work? I'm just like, let's just go for it. It worked.
Yeah, it was a bit hectic. It was a bit hectic.
Sounds like fun though.
Yeah, we got there in the end.
There was no beverages to put us off track. We were behaved.
I did all
pure
the wrong
water.
things with the yarn for the provisional. So I used really thin yarn, different color, but it was so tight that I couldn't join in the round on my circulars, and I had to magic loop for the first 2 rows before it had a little bit more give to put it on. And that was all during the penalty kick out for the Matildas. I just had to put it down for a bit. And I was like,
How great
yeah.
was
It was great, but I'm glad that I don't have to magic loop the whole thing, because I think it would have just driven me a bit Barney. Yeah.
I was knitting on socks while we were watching the Matildas, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be super tight because of the stress.
Karina, I've got a question for you from the chat. Will you be producing a kit for the overlay sweater?
Yes. We swatched early on and we really liked the Cormo base from Lexington Woolies for that. And we've just been waiting for that delivery from the mill, and that has arrived to Lexington down in southern Tassie, and she shipped it to me a couple of days ago. So as soon as I've got that and get that in the dye pots in the next week, I'll do up some prototypes of some kit sample and color combos, and then I aim to get them out within the next week or two as soon as the yarn arrives.
I think there's a definite possibility that I might end up with 3 cast-ons and no finished sweaters by the end of this cal.
It's all right, Gayanne. You're not eligible for the prizes anyway. So.
Yeah, I might have the same problem. I already have 3 on the needles, so oops.
crocheting the yarn onto the needle. I have seen that technique before. I did not use that technique. I just made a chain and then picked up stitches from the chain for the provisional. Sorry, that was a comment in the chat.
Soho has 2 videos. So I don't know who's involved with Pearl Soho, but they have a 1-step provisional cast on and a 2-step provisional cast on video. So, and when you Google provisional cast on by Pearl Soho, both come up. So there's a couple of options there depending on what people are more comfortable with.
And I think the technique tutorial that I have linked to the pattern is one where you do crochet the stitches onto the needle. But yeah, it really doesn't matter to the end result which way you do it, because you're undoing that cast on anyway, which is the whole point. You just want something that you can undo easily. So I've actually never tried the just knitting into the chain because it felt tricky. I don't crochet, so probably that's why.
While we're on the topic of I guess kind of tutorial videos, what do people have favorites or go-tos that they if they get stuck in a pattern, that's the first place you go to look? I think somebody had put up Very Pink Knits, and that's one that I've often used. I think her videos are very, well, she does them like slow-mo and up close, and I think they've been really helpful. Petite Knit. I haven't tried their technique videos. Bowery definitely is another really good one. Yep, totally agree with that.
Yeah, I often link her tutorials in my patterns actually.
If there's no other questions at the moment, should we open it up a bit and let people maybe introduce themselves if you want to? I don't know, Gayanne, if you want to.
Yeah, if people want to talk about what they're making? Just open it up to the floor.
Sure, I'll talk.
Jump in.
Hi, I'm Michelle. I'm in Sydney, and I've got the City Lights kit with the beautiful jeweled kind of purples and pinks and beautiful with the dark grey. It's my first time using Polworth. It's an interesting experience. It's not what I expected. I don't know what I thought, but it's much more rustic than I thought it was going to be. So it's interesting to use it. I've looked at EXP has been on my list for a long time. And when I saw that you were doing a cowl, I went, oh my God, I have to do it. But I was looking at the pattern as I was struggling with the gauge, because I'm also a confession, I am not a swatcher. And
love your work,
and I just launch in and I just go, yeah, it will work. And I've been kind of lucky that most things have worked. But I did try, and oh boy, there was a few expletives going on, coming out while I was doing it. But I looked at the pattern and I just went, oh my God, I need a Mensa degree to understand. It's so, I just looked at it and I just went, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to do this? But, you know, I'll struggle on, and hopefully.
I had a similar experience, but I think as I've gone through it, once I had it in my hands, I found it a little bit easier to understand. So
yeah, I'm hoping that once I get all the markers in, and there's the actual further than a few rows, that I'll be able to visually put it with the words and stuff like that. Yeah, that's
Can I ask what shawl you're wearing, Michelle?
It's a Sosu.
Yeah, I knew that.
It's one of her mystery.
It's fabulous.
It is
Love it.
a beautiful shawl, and that's in the Fiore sock that I've got, and I've got my Tecumseh on as well.
Oh,
So
look at that.
yeah.
All the beautiful knits.
And I've also got a test knit going on here for someone. So yeah, so it's all go here. Thank you very much, and that's me.
Thanks, Michelle. And going forward as well, we've got the Facebook group for like posting questions. So if you get stuck anywhere in the pattern, you can just, if you're part of the Facebook group, you can put a post in there as well, and we'll be monitoring that along the way. So fantastic. We've had another 3 sweater, should I call it a pledge? Maybe in the chat. I already possess the pom-pom issue for the overlay sweater, but I will knit the vest. I think that would be I love the vest for the overlay, and I love the idea of a vest. And Susanna, are you wearing your vest?
Yes, I am. I am wearing it.
Yep. And thanks to Susanna for explaining the color changes at Bendigo. Jubal was my first choice for the cow, but after trying the EXP at the show, I became a convert.
Yep.
Have started with the Jubal. Do you think the Jubal is the maybe you touched on this in the video before, but the Jubal is the I won't say the easiest, but the most simple design?
Yeah, and I think it is the easiest one to make as well. It doesn't really have any complicated techniques. For a sweater, it's fairly basic. There's the cables, but apart from that, it's basically just seed stitch in the round.
Mm-hmm.
And around you go. It's not a very exciting one in that way, but it knits up very quickly. It's knit with a bulky weight yarn, so it's a pretty quick one. I can actually show you while I'm talking one that I'm working on. I started a Jubal right after Bendigo. I took a couple of days off just to recover, and I started knitting a new one. Actually, this one is actually like according to the pattern. My other sample is not. So ta-da, it's up to the armpit.
What yarn have you used for that one, Susanna?
So that one is a yarn called Snefnog by Karma Rose. So it's a blown yarn, and it's very similar to the yarn that was used in the pattern, the Woolfolk Luft yarn. So it has let me just double check. This one has alpaca. So it's got like a cotton I-cord, and then it's got alpaca fiber blown inside it. So it's a very like fluffy and soft yarn, and lovely to work with. But yeah, there's lots of great yarn options for that as well. You can do 8-ply with mohair, or the bulky merino that Karina's got going right now in the beautiful colors. Were you, Karina, gonna knit a Jubal as well with one of the colors, or are you focusing on the EXP?
That it might be next weekend's cast on. I have swatched. So yeah, I just made sure I got gauge just with the seed stitch. So that's antique, but yeah, I'm undecided what color I will use. So
You could want to choose
between the green and the pink.
in the pink.
Sorry, there. The pink's beautiful.
That one.
Yeah, yeah, right up my alley.
You're the pink girl.
It's very Barbie core now too. Who knew I would finally be on trend?
Yeah.
Is there anyone else out there that wanted to say hello and talk about what they're casting on? No, everyone's feeling shy today.
I'll go.
Go for it. Nice to
I'm
meet you.
Alana. I'm making a EXP sweater for my grandma. Yeah. I'm in Melbourne. Love knitting. There's a lot of cats in my room right now. I've got long COVID, so I spend a lot of time in bed, but I do have a lot of time for knitting.
Oh, that's no good. I mean, good for the knitting time, but
Pretty much, it's the only positive.
yeah, I'm
And the
sorry.
the most important thing is that I've got the energy to knit. You know, everything else is secondary.
Elena, what yarn are you using for your EXP, and how did you pick the colors?
Alana, I'm using just Bendigo Woolen Mills because I'm on a bit of a budget at the moment. I couldn't afford I saw the beautiful kits at Bendigo. They're so lovely. I would really love to use some of their wool in the future to make one. But at the moment, I'm just using luxury four ply. I think it's Junior Navy. And then for the contrast, I'm using some of their like color changing sock yarn, which I'm hoping will look nice. I guess we'll find out.
I think it will. I love Bendigo Woolen Mills. I use them a lot. I think their yarn is just lovely to work with. So good choices.
Can your kitties come on camera and say hello?
Yeah, indeed. There's some huskies.
We might have lost Eleanor there for a second, I think. You're on mute, Karina.
We've got a hand raised.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you want to jump in?
Don't know how to.
Hello. How are you going?
Can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Sorry, I'm a bit new to all this. Hi, I'm Brenda.
Hi, Brenda. Nice to meet you.
Brenda, you too. It's nice to meet everyone.
Have you got your cast on there?
Yes, I've got my EXP.
Gorgeous.
That's the,
it's fun when you start the contrast, isn't it?
Yeah. That's the Purlfect pink kit from Karina.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And I'm pairing it with this pink gin.
Oh, good choice.
Good combo.
Bit early in the day, but I thought, what the hell?
Is that a Scottish accent I detect?
Yes, it is a Scottish accent. I hope everyone can understand me.
Absolutely.
I've only been in Australia 38 years.
It's making me think of Outlander.
Yeah, as long as it's not Jamie you're thinking of.
What part of Scotland are you from, Brenda? I got to go over there in April and it's just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I'm originally from Glasgow.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely.
There are a lot of people from Glasgow in Australia. Yeah. But yeah, I came over in 1985, I think it was. Yeah. Go back for holidays, but this is my home now. Had my children here and got two sons, grown-up sons now. Yeah, who are Aussies.
Do they still have a strong connection to Scotland though? Did they like going there? And
they haven't been since they were young. Yeah, it's been a while since they went over. Yeah. But I still have family over there. my family's sort of spread all over. I've got sisters in Canada and family in Germany.
Like so many families these days, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I'm actually heading over to Scott. I've got Scottish ancestors, but no living relatives that I'm aware of. But I'm heading over next year for an extended period, and we'll definitely be going to Glasgow. And yeah.
Yeah, Glasgow's it's a very friendly city.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Edinburgh has all the, you know, the history, the castle, and Glasgow's a bit different vibe.
I heard that Glasgow's quite artsy, lots of artists and
Yeah, it is. And Art Deco as well. That's where Charles Rennie Mackintosh came from. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for saying hello.
Yeah.
You're welcome. It's nice to meet everyone.
Yeah. My partner's also Scottish, Brenda. Been out for 40 years and his accent is just the same as yours. Because after 40 years, he's from Edinburgh way.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we never lose the accent.
No.
I don't know what it is about the Scottish accent, but it's just, I don't know. I think once you've grown up there, it's in your bones. You just don't lose it or take on any other accent. Although I think my accent has mellowed a bit since I've been here. If I spoke Glaswegian, no one definitely wouldn't understand me.
I'd have a crack at it.
Well, thanks for organising the Zoom session. It's great. I don't have it. All my friends, none of them are crafty. I've tried to get them involved in knitting or sewing, but they're just not interested. So it's nice to speak to people who are crafty as well. And it's hard to go to any craft groups because I work full time. So it's just a bit difficult to meet up with other crafty people. So thanks for doing this. It's great.
Absolutely. Here's a confession. I've just been knitting away and completely forgot to do my increase rounds, which I think was supposed to be done like 2 rounds ago, or 4 rounds ago. So, oh dear.
Yeah. Social knitting can be like that.
Anybody else want to jump in and say hello? We're going to probably finish up relatively soon, but
I'll say hi.
hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can, yes.
I'm Rowena. I'm in Yorta Yorta land, so Northern Victoria area. I am doing the EXP with Olive Grove, same as you, Nicole. Mine's only just very cast on compared to yours. And I was just seconding the comment about not having people that get it when you're really into yarn nearby. And I think poor Gayanne, I think I accosted her slightly at Bendigo because I was at Sanna and Co.'s stall and I just bought the kit and I turned around and Gayanne was behind me and I'd only watched a couple of podcasts by the time I'd gone there. And I saw Gayanne and I just went, oh, Purlfect Pairings. Just completely blanked on names. So I feel like I walked away and she was like, whoa, that lady was a lot. But
I can
it was
speak
the
for Gayanne that she would have been delighted. I haven't seen her on the screen lately. She's still around, just
I
quiet.
did before. Yeah, so I so yeah, I got really excited. I'm going to blame overstimulation of all the pretty yarn as well. But yeah, so thank you for organising it. It's so nice that it's Aussie too. Like we very rarely get the opportunity to get together as you see all the American people doing CALs and things like that, but we very rarely get the chance to do Australian ones, so thank you.
No, I think it'll be great. And Yvette has her, sorry, I just want to go back. I was so excited actually that you recognized me and the podcast, and that you actually watched the podcast. So
good. I'm glad it is.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. No, it totally didn't freak me out. It was new. It's new, right? Because it's the first time we've gone to Bendigo since we started the podcast, but it was really wonderful to have that really kind reception. So thank you for that. Yvette, hand up.
Hi, I'm Yvette. I live in Cairns. I'm a bit late. I ordered my yarn last week, so it'll be arriving. Post office says next week, Monday only. And I'm doing the Purlfect pink kit as well. I'm a bit the same. I looked at the pattern and everything looked great. So I am swatching with just old, terrible colored orange and green just to get the idea of it. Yeah, and excited to join. Also, being in Cairns, I don't have any knitting friends. So it's just me, and it's very hot. So I normally just knit in fingering weight, and very much a process knitter. I don't really wear what I knit because it's like middle of winter and wearing t-shirts and shorts. So yeah, just enjoy the process.
And a good
That's
excuse
lovely.
to travel and where you can experience the cooler climates and where you hand knits.
Oh yeah, I haven't been anywhere south of Port Macquarie yet. I've only been in Australia for 5 years. So yeah, I desperately want to go to Victoria, see Sydney, Adelaide, yeah, Tasmania. Everywhere is still on the to-do list. Yeah. Oops, Pee-wee just pulled through that. Okay, that's me. Thanks.
Lovely to meet you, Yvette.
Thank you.
You'll have to come for Bendigo, time your visit to Victoria or to Melbourne.
Oh, I definitely want to 1 year. I'll have to get the husband. He's giving me funny looks now, Bendigo, because I watch every single podcast that I can, and everyone was showing the Bendigo now, and I watched one today, also where they still had Bendigo on, and he says, "Are they still talking about Bendigo?" Yep. Yeah.
I think I started planning. I start stalking the Bendigo website and start planning my attack. Probably a month ahead, but that's just me.
Yeah, he took me. We went to Brisbane on local yarn store day, the 29th of April. So I turned 50 in June, and he asked me what would I like for my 50th birthday. And I said, well, I hadn't ever been to a yarn shop in Australia. And I said, well, let's do that. So we flew down to Brisbane because my son's in Brisbane. And then it was the same day as what Yarn Glorious Yarn was opening up. So we went there and we did the yarn bowl, and I bought lots of yarn. So that to me was a treat. I can't imagine what Bendigo would be. Yeah.
Oh, both of those. I haven't been to either of those shops, but I have seen them online and browsed their selection online. And I think you probably did really well.
I did really well. And that was the same weekend that Louie and Lola's advent calendar came out. So I was standing in the yarn bowl with my refresh button going so that I could make sure I got that, because last year I missed all the advents, and I thought this year I'm not missing Louie and Lola. So I had my finger on the refresh button and I got the
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so that was good.
Confession, when I'd scheduled it to go live, we had a day in a shearing shed down in southern Tassie, and the reception was terrible. I'm like, oh, this is not good planning on my behalf whatsoever. Here, they let me go down the farmhouse to connect into the Wi-Fi and get some signal because there was none up in the shearing shed. So like, oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, and I got one, thank goodness.
Oh, well done.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask you, Karina, how fast do they normally sell out? Like how fast do you have to be with your buttons when you're ordering them?
Oh, I'm very grateful, very fortunate. So my advents have been really well received. So this year's went in 15 minutes. So
Wow.
And then because there was still a lot of messages. So that I caved to the pressure of all the people who'd missed out and messaged that afternoon, and then I agreed to do another 20. So I'm doing 120 advent calendars this year.
I've got mine. I'm really happy that I got one.
Thank you. Yeah, so all the goodies are here, all the yarn is here. So after I dye the cormo, then it's straight into advent dyeing. So yeah, that'll be August, September, October. Yeah. Lots of fun. Yeah.
And there's so much effort that goes into that, doesn't it, Karina? Do you want to just touch on that? We've recently had an Advent episode.
Yeah, well, I love Christmas, so it's right up my alley, and I love planning little special treats and things. So I guess there's a few phases of it too. So like coming up with your initial concept and getting excited with how you think that's going to work with your color palette, choosing your yarn bases and what extras that you think are going to tie in really nicely. So that kind of all happens, and I order all that and do all the artwork for it all, send it off to the printers, get that back. So that's all here and ready and waiting, and had some beautiful makers do me some gorgeous treats this year. And then I do, because I dye obviously in batches, so I'll do a prototype though of just equivalent of say 5 minis of everything, but reality is then when you start dyeing, you're doing in multiples of 20. So yeah, it's unfortunate. We've got a lovely friend who is a yarnie, and she's got some time in her calendar. She'll come and help me. I'll dye, I'll twist. She will then package into the individual little sachets for a few weeks for me, and then we'll box up and ship by the end of October is the plan. So it's full on, but you feel like Father Christmas. That's good. Yeah. I love doing it. Yeah.
It must be a lot of fun too to get to play around with so many different colours.
Yeah, I feel a bit guilty that I get to call yarn dyeing my job, but it is, yeah. And sometimes it's just just new colors just come by happy accidents, and sometimes they're the best ones. But I try and be cohesive though with the palette and mix and match colors that I think will work nicely in projects together and be quite wearable. And then occasionally I break out of that and chuck in some curveballs. So yeah, I love the fact that all dyes, we've got the same basic ingredients, but because our aesthetics are so different, all our colors are different, and you'll like some ones and more than others, and that's fabulous. The more the merrier. So yeah, it's lots of fun. We need more mills to get more Australian produced yarns, and especially non-superwash and woolen spun yarns. So I think Susanna can probably concur with that a lot. So.
Yeah, I'm always on the lookout for those options. I think woolen spun is not available at all at the moment in Australia. So
New Zealand mainly, yeah, is the closest for that.
Yeah. Hopefully there'll be some developments in that direction.
Okay, well, it's just past 4 o'clock. Did anyone else really want to do a little intro before we sign off, or are there any last questions this afternoon. I think from the sounds of things, there's a bit of an appetite for these, so we might try and host a couple throughout the Cal, just so that everyone can check in, and those who are don't have a local group or local or any friends that are knitters, then yeah, we can keep connecting throughout the Cal. So is there anyone else want to jump in before we go?
I will.
Hello.
I've already confessed my mistake from the get-go, so I am doing the XP. And yeah, I'm in Tassie, and I've got a couple test knits going on right now, but I'm very excited to be doing this as well. So this is a fun knit, and the others have a lot of pressure, and this is just going to be my relaxing, enjoyable, doing it for myself kind of thing. Yeah, so my colorways are actually a prototype that Karina had dyed up in the Pulworth, and then I realized that I had a set of antique fade, right? Is that what it was, Karina? Antique. Anyways,
vintage print.
That's it. Vintage print. Yeah.
Fade from last year.
Yeah. From last year. So I thought, oh, the choices are made for me. I don't have to decide. I can just use what I've got, and every color scheme that people put up, I'm like, oh no, I'll do that one. No, I'll just so this is just, I've got the yarn. I'm going to use it out of my stash, and blue's my thing. So yeah, so that's me. And I'm lucky because I have Karina next door. Well, not next door, but in the same, a few paddocks away, shall we say. So we can problem solve together if there things come up, especially like last night. So
awesome. Thank you.
And I am from Canada. I did live in Townsville up until about 2.5 years ago. So for Yvette in Cairns, I agree, and I know her feeling of being a knitter in a hot place is not always enjoyable. You can knit the beautiful things but never wear them. So happy to be down in the cold land where I can wear them all the time.
I just wanted to jump in quickly. I know we were talking about not so many, we need more Australian mills, but I just wanted to say thank you to Gayen and Nicole for starting the podcast, because we don't have a whole lot of Australian knitting podcasts. And when I came across you guys, I started from number 1 and went all the way up to date, and I've really enjoyed your content so far. So thank you. Keep it up. We really enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree. I was so excited when I found a podcast from Melbourne all about the Australian wool industry. I was so thrilled.
Yeah. So that's why I've got the Tandy as my main, and was actually a hand dyer that started her business that got me back into knitting. And then introduced me to the community. Yeah, Rhonda, Karina might know I've known Rhonda for 30 years, and she actually made my wedding dress. So yeah, she's a really good friend. Her daughters and I have all grown up together, so there's a special connection there too. So very grateful to meet everyone.
That's lovely. Thanks so much, Sky. I'm really glad that our little idea, or Gayan, I'll give full credit to Gayan. Gayan's little idea has connected with people. So that was always the aim. Yeah. Thank you. All right, my friends, do we have any last shout outs, or should we wrap it up this afternoon and we'll start looking at our diaries and try and schedule another one in a few weeks or so? Any last thoughts? Again, do you want to do a bit of a, oh, sorry, Karina.
I was going to say, how does this kind of a Sunday around this hour work? Obviously, you girls all made it today, but Do you think this generally works as a time frame? Take that
I
as a
see
yes. Okay.
some head nodding.
Cool. Well, I'm sure we'll get some feedback anyway as time goes on around what time works. So fantastic. Okay, and do you want to, you opened up, do you want to wrap up for us?
Well, I just want to thank everybody for coming and joining and for participating in the CAL and for supporting our podcast and supporting Susanna and Karina. And we'll try and bring you good content. And don't forget the Facebook group. If you have particular questions, you can always DM us on Instagram as well. Maybe just be a little bit patient about that because like Brenda said, we work full time too, so sometimes it can be hard to respond immediately. And thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you.
Happy knitting.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See you, Sharon.
Probably stop recording, Karina.
You're the pro at this, aren't you?